Hey, what's going on, ladies and gentlemen? I'm Piglet here once again. Hey, I'm Rarity here, and hey every pony, and everyone else for that matter, and welcome back for some more of the Maxi Toys videos. So anyways, welcome back to more Let's Play of Mario Kart DS for the Nintendo DS. So last time we actually did tackle through levels 4 through 6, and specifically on mission mode, and now we're going to continue on and do the grand finale of mission mode of Mario Kart DS. Well, this wasn't exactly the final video yet, because obviously we got two extra modes we're going to be showing case, which are time trial modes and versus modes. So even then though, that would be about it for this Let's Play. So yeah, we're about to be presenting to you level 7 in mission mode in Mario Kart DS. Now, funny story actually, this is actually the unlockable level once you actually access to the just only 1 star ranking or more, until when you actually access to all of these original 6 levels, you actually access to level 7, the final level in mission mode as I mentioned earlier. So anyways, let's go and get started. Mission 7-1, perform 6 power slides, turbo boosts in 1 lap, and in this case it takes place in Rainbow Road. Weirdly enough though, is that Rainbow Road is the only level that you, the only mission you actually experience Rainbow Road in this particular mission mode. So even then it's only just the main purpose of, you know, trying to deal with 6 drifts. So yeah, but again, in order to actually access to, you know, level 7 on mission mode, you're gonna have to be sure you need to actually be access to, if you complete all of the missions in all of these levels, that you need to be at the 1 star ranking at least more. So even then though, that if you're in A or lower than that, you won't access to level 7. So just want to clarify that just as that. So it's a bit like how it does it when before New Super Mario Bros. Wii World 9, that you have to actually access to collect all the star coins per world, so that way you can actually play as these special worlds in New Super Mario Bros. Wii. It's a bit like that, but even then though, that will explain more on that later. Mission 7-2, reach the finish before Bowser. So, and the player of choice for this particular mission is Mario. So even then though, it makes it more likely a perfect sense to this, because obviously this is more likely almost very similar to how it does it whenever you're trying to beat the final boss in Super Mario Bros. In the old days, where we're actually going to be competing against with Bowser at the same time. So in this case, it takes place in Bowser's castle, so even then though, it's self-explanatory, just beat the rival and that's all you do. However, the thing is though, is that if you think you might actually try to reach up to this higher level of this particular level, you actually gotta go in the down bottom part of this level, so that way you can actually just get these items that way. So even then though, that we can actually just briefly that way. So, as far as I'm concerned with this, that, you know, we're pretty much almost done with this Let's Play actually, because even then though, as we mentioned earlier, that after this level that we could actually just manage to tackle through, oh goodness gracious, we almost fall off and die right there. But sadly we only get an A rank though, which is a little bit of a disappointment. Mission 7-3, complete 2 laps within a time limit. So this takes place in Tick-Tock clock as Donkey Kong. So this seems more likely, it seems pretty self-explanatory at first. But then once you actually get into action though actually, although first things first, you do have 3 dash mushrooms to use. However though, there's going to be a lot more tricky obstacles this time. There's going to be 3 pendulums right there. I wish there was supposed to be 1, but it turns out it's going to be a lot more tougher now. And also these gears, they're really fast. It kind of sort of reminds me, almost related to Tick-Tock clock level in Super Mario 64. That you know, you have to deal with the you know, the big hand or what have you. That's actually the main premise of depends on what speed you're actually going to be entering on that level. That I'm presuming if you actually reach into more likely 9, it goes everything fast, and then if you actually reach up to 12 on the big hand, it will just goes completely stop. But in level number 3 and yeah, number 3 most likely is that it'll actually go a little bit slower. But then in number 6 is actually more likely a random speed. So even then though, it depends on, it's more likely a switcheroo syndrome. So yeah, as far as this mission is concerned, it's pretty easy though. It's gonna have to pay attention to those tougher obstacles and stuff like that. So even then though, I highly recommend you go onto these little cartwheels and stuff, so that way you can actually do a lot of leaps of faith right here, even for a tough, the tons of speed you can actually perform. But anyway though, so mission 7-4, use shells to defeat all 30 Goombas within a time limit. So This mission is a spiritual sequel to the plus 20 crabs mission because the reason why we say that is because although first things first though is that it takes place in Mario Circuit because that's why how Goombas actually appears from. And however though, the thing is though is that much like how it does it for Monty Moles in level 3, I'm presuming, that and also in Blast 20 Crabs in level 4 is that you're gonna have to deal with these a lot of items, more accurately the green shells most likely. So even then though, that again, in order to actually successful this mission is that you have to defeat all 30 of them. You can't actually defeat some of them at the time, you have to specifically try to defeat all of them so that way you can actually pass. So the thing is though is that in this mission right here is that you're gonna have to do a lot of backtracking on them when it comes to fetching those green shells and stuff. And also at the same time it might be a little bit easier to actually adjust your distance from, you know, trying to toss the green shell that way. But it's just that a lot of times though you have to be really pure master at trying to aim it from, you know, Goomba by Goomba with these green shells. So, oh goodness gracious, that was close. Yeah, we almost immediately trying to fall off to this level though, so that's not that great, but hey. But nonetheless though, so we're pretty much at the halfway point of the mission mode in level 7 though, basically. But there's two or so missions I found is kind of tough compared to how it does it for the previous missions. But even then though, we'll get into that a bit shortly. So, here we go, here's the final 2 Goombas, and booyah, there we go. Sometimes though, this mission can be a little bit longer because even then though, it depends again, you have to adjust your green shell aiming. Alright, mission 7-5, collect all 20 coins. I'm assuming this is actually the, not so much the final coin mission, but this is probably the trickiest coin missions because if you ever go into this level right here, which is Warrior Stadium, if you actually missed only one coin for mainly, for example, these fire rings, or in this case the Ring of Fire, that way you actually only have like one try in order to actually successful this because you can't take your time on this mission thanks to that beautiful clock is about to tick off in the bottom screen, as you can probably imagine. So pretty tricky though, I have to admit though, when if you're first time playing for this. But if you actually get a lot of practice on this mission though, then you should be able to clarify it just as fine enough. But it's just the fact that you only have like only one try in order to successfully try to deal with this mission that way. Unless you might actually waste your time on this mission if you're actually trying to get yourself some nice little star rankings in this mission, mainly due to the fact that we're actually constantly missing those coins for, you know, the Ring of Fires. And even then though, that's not that too bad on some situations, but believe me that it takes like a lot of tries. But still, it can be for my more likely predictions though, I kind of think about it. And there we go, collect all 20 coins and booyah! And yeah, we already got a rubbish B rank after missing that first coin. So anyways, now we move on to possibly one of the hardest missions in the entire game, mission 7-6. Drive through all 8 numbered gates in order. Now you won't be seeing that won't be, now you're probably thinking this mission wasn't as bad as it used to be. However, the biggest thing about this mission we find is actually a little bit tougher compared to the other missions. And we should say that this is by far the hardest mission in Mario Kart DS. Is the fact that you're actually going to be doing this without getting any sort of mistakes. So as you can tell, you only have to start off with 11 seconds, which is a little bit lesser compared to how it does it for the other timer missions. But it actually takes you like a lot of tries, even for a lot of failures when it comes to this mission in general. Because as far as I can tell, that drifting, especially hopping to one gate to another, is a little bit tough to perform. But even then, I think it's especially noticeable if you actually accidentally bash into these, you know, gate corners and stuff. It will be easier to actually just line up these, you know, just gonna have to deal with this little giant ring of gates. But sometimes you might accidentally just go really too slow, even especially noticeable if you're actually trying to do this like multiple attempts. But even then though, we only got 1 star ranking, that's fine. But even then though, believe me, this is by far the trickiest mission in the entire game. And anyways, here on to the second trickiest mission in the game. Mission 7-7, drive backwards and collect all 12 coins. If you hit the burner, you're failed. So this takes place in Airship Fortress. So, yeah, as far as I'm concerned for that. So, and basically we have to drive like, drive backwards at the start, so you even then know that the first section on this mission right here is that you have to go for this little navigation of maze, which is abundance of crates and stuff, so that you can actually, you can either bash through them, but a lot of times that you might actually just do it in a normal, regular way. However, the only trickiest part about this mission is that if you actually get certain mistakes, like if you get hit by a burner, like as you see that right there, what in the world? We actually got hit by that thing twice. Or actually 3 times, because, Anyway though, so, yeah, the only trickiest part about this mission I find is the fact that sometimes I find myself just constantly overshooting those stuff. Mainly these coins, for instance, because the hit detection on collectibles and stuff can be a little bit of a mind of its own predictable stuff. Even then, especially noticeable, we actually missed that 1 coin over there. But even then, we'll try that again eventually, so... Anyway though, so... And basically, we'll be playing as Bowser, as we mentioned earlier, so even then though, as far as this is concerned, this is pretty much, in my honest opinion, one of the second trickiest missions, or probably the second hardest mission in the entire game, because you're just gonna have to get used to what the driving mechanics or the driving backwards function actually worked, and also that you're gonna have to be sure you need to don't accidentally just overshoot these coins and stuff. When it comes to the hit detection, it's a little bit too wonky at points. And also don't get hit by these 2 boners at the end. So there we go. New record! 3 stars. Fantastic. And now for the final mission before the final boss in the game. Mission 7-8. Break all 10 item boxes while avoiding the fake items. This takes place in Bunshi Boardwalk as Luigi. So yeah, this is pretty much a spiritual sequel to Mission 4-6, is that even though that it focuses the same thing, but except the other draw distance can be a little bit too wide up ahead, even though that it might be due to the fact that we actually... Oh, god damn it. Anyway, let's try that again. So, yeah, as we already encountered this mission earlier from Cocoa Mountain as Donkey Kong, but except that the noticeable difference was though between this variation of this mission compared to how it does it previously, is that obviously that we have to actually deal with a lot of banana peels to avoid. So even then though, there's going to be a lot of emphasis on dodging stuff, and also not to mention you have to, again, much like how it does in the previous version of this mission here, is that you're going to have to keep an eye on the bottom screen, like, well, most of the time. Well, not all of the time, but most of the time, though. That's the only reason, so... And also, the banana peels don't actually harm you, although the only time the banana peels can harm you is the fact that it will actually temporarily get slowed down. So, that's as far as I'm concerned with this. Oh, god dang it. Really? Sorry, that was kind of my fault there. I shouldn't just actually use that by accident. Anyway, let's do this for the 3rd time as a charm, and hopefully we're not going to bypass those item boxes most likely. So, yeah, let's just hope for God forbid if we actually try to pass it this time. So anyway, though, few things we want to mention about certain things before we actually get into the final boss in Mario Kart DS in mission mode, is that recently that Nintendo decided to actually bring up the global, let's just say a global split test from Splatoon 2 for Nintendo Switch. Even though it kind of feels like the exact same thing as it does it for the first game back in May in 2015. But even though this time around though, however, they're actually going to be bringing up the Splatoon 2 online demo mode. So even then though, that it might actually do the exact same thing as it does it for the first game. So even then though, we'll explain more now since we actually finished mission mode. And we only got 1 star, so that's okay. So now, anyways, here we are to the final boss in Mario Kart DS, and also the final mission in the entire game. Reach the finish before Wiggler. So this may actually be very similar to how it does it for where it actually beat against with Goombas back in mission level number 3. But except that we're having it just actually race against with him, or her, I should say, in Baby Park. So instead, it actually takes place in Mushroom Bridge. So the idea for this boss battle works though is that you don't actually deal the damage of her, much like how it does it for Goombas. So instead you have to actually just race against with her. So I highly suggest you recommend you actually do a constant bashing for those cars and stuff. It always kind of reminds me like I was playing a Burnout game for some reason. Even for even then though you're actually going to be designating the cars and stuff. So even then that's kind of god dang it. Oh well, let's try it again, shall we? So yeah, sometimes that a lot of people seem to think this is probably the hardest boss fight in the game. Honestly, I don't agree onto that, because even then though, I actually disagree onto this, because this is pretty easy for the most part, assuming if you're actually trying to dodge a lot of like, if you actually become invincible for, like, if you constantly get yourself invincibility star for whenever you, manage to grab these item boxes in a straight line, and also you're actually trying to bash, what's unique about this starter man for this particular mission is that obviously you can't actually harm those, vehicles, and also not to mention though, if you're constantly, destroying those vehicles along your path, that way you can actually get yourself a freebie, super mushroom, so that way you can actually dash forward for a moment, so... Oh yeah, you need to keep an eye on the Wiggler at all times, especially noticeable if she's going like way too fast in this particular race. But even then though, I don't think Wiggler wasn't as harmful as it used to be, but the only time you need to avoid Wiggler is that if you actually not become Super Starman, you're actually gonna lose your balloons effortlessly. So yeah, pretty much the trickiest mission at first, but honestly that as soon as we get a lot of practice on this mission though, that we're presuming we can actually deal with this no problem. Oh yeah, most likely it does it for Goombas, is that every time when Wiggler passes through each lab, she'll actually get herself a little bit trickier and tough, and even then though, she'll get a lot more faster kind of thing about it. And also much like a Goombas though, as soon as we get to the third and final lab, she'll perform the shortcuts, even then though, it's gonna have to keep an eye on your toes for that part. So, new record, 2 stars, and the perfect way that we actually finished mission mode while showing the staff credits. So, yeah, because conveniently enough though, is that after when you beat in the level 6 for the very first time, and even especially level 7, you always ended up in the staff credits most likely. So yeah, how it works for mission mode though, my final thoughts of the mission mode in this game has to offer, is actually a pretty interesting concept onto the Mario Kart series, even though it will reuse that again in Mario Kart Wii, but honestly, unfortunately though, that we can't actually play the mission mode in Mario Kart Wii anymore because Nintendo Wi-Fi connection has been recently shut down, which is pretty sad though, honestly. So, but that's just how I think. So yeah, I found the mission mode is actually a pretty unique system to actually introduce to the Mario Kart series. I'm really hoping it will actually make a comeback in Mario Kart 8. Well, at least Mario Kart 8 Deluxe from Nintendo Switch. I don't know if it's 100% guaranteed, because obviously Mario Kart 8 only got 2 months away until when the Nintendo Switch version of Mario Kart 8 Deluxe will be released. So, as far as I'm concerned with that, we're pretty much excited for the Nintendo Switch version of Mario Kart 8 Deluxe. Sorry for my little mouth has been twisted and stuff, so I really do apologize for that. So yeah, obviously this wasn't the final part of this Let's Plays yet, because obviously we're actually going to be showcasing Versus mode and also the Time Trial modes. I think we're actually going to go for Time Trials first and then the Versus mode until for last. Even especially noticeable we'll be showcasing the Mirror mode on this game has to offer. So even then that we pretty much can guarantee by that. So yeah, before we actually end things off though for this episode right here, is that, you know, with the Splatoon 2, that the special Global Splatfest demo, that you can actually access to it on at the 24th of March to 26th of March. So even then though, it's basically a 1 weekend campaign. Even then though, that unfortunately though, we don't able to get a chance to get a Nintendo Switch in day 1, because we're just gonna have to wait until when the price drops. So that's as far as I'm concerned with this. So, oh yeah, final thing before we actually end things off though, is that I've looked up on the My Little Pony Friendship's Magic Twitter account. It's the fact that the final 7th episode, sorry, I can't speak today. And yeah, I apologize for this background noise you're actually going to be hearing for the moment, but even then, we'll talk until we actually breathe through it. So, anyway though, so yeah, for My Little Pony Friendship is Magic Season 7, the finale of the Seasons department before the movie will about to be about to appear, that it will actually going to came out until sometime in April. So even then though, that was about 3rd time for spring releases, because the first season we actually did manage to launch in autumn 2010, or in this case 10-10-10 seems more likely. So, but even then, we'll explain more on this kind of stuff until we actually get into later though. But anyway, so yeah, if you actually depends on if you actually beaten the Grand Prix mode for the very first time in the mission modes level 6 or 7, you actually get yourselves this normal photo showing Mario and Peach got their respective trophies. Like Mario got himself the Lightning Cup and Princess Peach got the Special Cup. So that only happens if you did not unlock everything. But even then, no, that's just how usually the normal ending works. So anyways, so got the endings off here. So join us next time on Let's Play Mario Kart DS, is that we're about to be showcasing the final 2 modes that this game has to offer. Time trials and versus mode, including mirror mode. So see you guys then. Later, fellas.